A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I will say Amin to the dua Malam Hasib made when he started to save time. And I'll go straight into the topic. Part of me feels, and we can even put the microphone down and be done. We've laughed, we've heard a lot, but I've been asked to speak. I came all the way from Mina yesterday, so I will not waste my time. I have the microphone and I must speak, inshallah. I'll try and do that quickly because I know we're already sensitive to time. Though that's a bit difficult because when you think about the topic, it's so broad, actually should probably have taken a whole day in and of itself because you're talking about before marriage, and then we want to touch on raising children as well. I'll just say a few things with regard to marriage and before marriage. My first husband died in a car accident. I remarried some years back. And I had decided at that time I wasn't going to remarry for a very simple reason. I felt there was a shortage of good people around, men and women. So anybody who was looking for a spouse really had a hard time if you were looking for a good person. I felt I was lucky the first time round, really blessed. And I didn't think that it was possible to find somebody who I felt really lives up to that thing of be Muslim from your heart, inside out. So when I started getting proposals of marriage after I was widowed, I would actively disengage and disconnect all of them, deliberately do things to discourage them from asking any further. But I never stopped doing istikhara. So even when I've decided, I don't think I feel any inclination to marry this particular person, I would still do istikhara. Just in case I was making the wrong decision, saying no to the right person. When I eventually got married to my second husband, it was not intended. At the time that the sparks began to fly, let me put it that way, I was not looking for a husband. I was actively running away from getting married. We happened to be moderating a program together organized by our organization, and we had to stand outside the mosque one day to just share ideas. How are we managing this session? What are we doing? And from there it kind of segued into talk about other things until someone had to come out to look for us and say, where are the moderators? And that was when my brain said, what are you doing? I thought you said you're not getting married again. So we started talking like that, and we would actually have times when we sit and we just talk. But by that time, I told myself, you either know what you are doing or you don't know what you're doing. You know what you're looking for, you don't know what you're looking for. So after about 3 such sessions of talking about books, about Islam, about this, then one day I looked him in the eye and I said, what are we doing? He said, what do you mean? I said, this talking, what are we doing? Much later, he said that was the day he realized this is direct. What you see is what you get. I'm sharing this because many of us know how to keep running around the park and giving all kinds of hints and clues and signals. But when it's time to really settle down and talk, we say you can't find the words, you say I'm shy, you say, I went to an all-girls school, I went to an all-boys school. If there's a time to be shy, it's not when you intend to marry somebody. You tone down the shyness a bit so that your intention comes out, your words come out, of course, with honor, with dignity. But let there be a lot of clarity. I have so many situations where brothers they kind of just recede. First, they're talking to the sister, they're calling her 5 times a day, then suddenly they're calling her 3 times a day, then not at all. And when she says what's going on, they say, I'm busy. And if you're a sister with experience, you know what I'm busy means. It means I've changed my mind, I've looked, I don't like what I am seeing, so I'm actually just backtracking and you should read the signals. For the sisters, they just keep collecting the gifts. They collect the gifts, they pick up the calls, but they answer in a very cold way, and they hope the brother will get the message. Am I smiling at him the way I used to smile at him before? He should understand, he should know now. I think we should be fair to one another. I think there should be a greater deal of compassion. On interaction in marriage and relationships, I see whatever it is you say and you do and you declare before marriage like campaign promises. Jobs for all, fix all schools, women in position represented in every level of government, food for all, campaign promises. And first 100 days, they'll probably be still making promises. The campaign promises are like the declarations of love. and commitment. It's you till Jannah. Our marriage is till Jannah. Or the famous one from that song, I'm falling inside a well, you're the only person that will rescue me. Or your face is like the new moon of Shawwal. When I see you, I can't think of anything else. Campaign promises. The marriage ceremony itself is like the inaugural ceremony where they say, come take the oath of office. And the person swears by Quran or Bible or whatever it is he or she says, this is the thing I will swear by. I will do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. That's like the marriage ceremony. And on that day of the marriage ceremony, many brides are unrecognizable. You know the bride, or you knew her before that day. When you go looking for her, they say they are doing her makeup. You walk in and you see somebody. And you smile tentatively. Then the person says, oh! Then you realize, oh, that's the bride. Because now she has lashes that are thrice the length of her regular lashes. They're actually fanning her cheeks. And the cheeks are highlighted and contoured. And her nose is like mine, or it used to be before the makeup artist got to work. Now the nose looks like a pencil. And her lips, they are red like Coca-Cola signboard. She's made up. And what about the gentleman, the brother? The beard is groomed. It's oiled and shiny. The shoes are glowing. The jilbab or babanriga is perfect. By the end of that day, the makeup must come off, including the lashes and the girdle. And that beautiful babanriga goes in the box and stays there, and he will go back to his faded rumpled style. And I'm not dissing brothers that like faded style. It's their swag. The point I'm making is the real marriage begins when all that is over. That's the real work. And the makeup and the perfect clothes and the perfect ceremony will not change habits that were there before you even met this person. So we can say a lot to people who are already married about how they talk to one another, how they handle themselves when they're upset, how often they insult or shouldn't insult. But if you are still single, then I say, you know what? You are in the best position right now. Work on your habits, because your habits will follow you into marriage. And from what people observe and from what researchers have seen, what breaks marriages is bad manners. I'm angry, an insult flies out. And the insult is not just directed at my spouse, but my spouse's mother, father, family, tribe, Katsina men, all you Katsina men, they warned me, I don't know why I still married you. Or Dama, they said it, you women that are educated, you will try and climb on my head. If you have those habits, they will follow you into marriage. Now about raising kids. When it comes to raising our children, I think the main thrust of my talk on raising children today is be aware you are not the only one raising your children. If I ask the question, who is raising your children? Don't stop at me, I am, my husband is, our family members are. Actually say the village is raising our children. And I don't mean the village in the old sense, but the global village is raising our children. Everybody wants your child. Governments want your child. They are the future. In about 10, 15 years' time, your teenagers are the ones making money. Those in their late teens and early 20s are the ones in government making policies, making big business decisions, making some decisions for you. The governments know this. So governments that are wise are actively trying to raise children who will push forward their ideas, their manifesto. Companies know this. So companies invest heavily in targeting children. Tech companies and some of these social media outfits, Facebook and Instagram have been named among them, they have persuasion labs where psychologists go to work figuring out how best to keep your child online for as long as possible. And if your child's tahajjud is on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or wherever else online, those companies are happy. Groups want your children to be their soldiers, their advocates, their loyalists. Either armed soldiers or pen soldiers or keyboard soldiers, keyboard warriors. There's nothing wrong with all of these things if the goals of these people who are also trying to raise your children do not align with what it means to be a Muslim. So even in raising your children, you have to ask, what does it mean to be a Muslim? What do I want to raise them to become? And when I use the term your children, I actually am mentally thinking of your children by birth, your children by marriage. Yes, your stepchildren are your children. Forget the step, they are yours. If you are married to their mother or father, then they are yours. You cannot divorce them unless you divorce their parent. If you have a child living in your house, then you are their parents. That child is yours. Your children's friends, by extension, are your children. Any child who is influenced by something you say or do, or they watch you and they copy you, for that moment, to that extent, becomes your child. So don't say, I'm not yet married. Are you influencing a child? Then you are that child's parent. Don't say, I'm 20 years old, I'm only 18. Are you influencing someone else? Then you are their parent. So when we talk about this, we have to go back to the root of our origin, our source. Who are we? We are Muslims. What does that mean? There are the externals. Our shahada, we declare it. Our salah, our fasting. But there's the internal. Where is your moral compass pointing? What's your true north spiritually? If you're focusing on Allah all the time, then you will be trying to move towards Him, not away from Him. Then your path will be towards Him, not away from Him. And we cannot say we truly believe in Allah if we don't understand Him. None of us can lay claim to, I hear Allah's voice in my head. If you start making such declarations, we'll start looking at you funny. But we do know where to find His words. It's in the Quran. How well do we understand the Quran? How well do we understand what He says? How well do we seek to know the meaning and the implication of verses in the Quran? How well do we read the Hadith with a view to knowing how do I apply this in my life? Not just how do I quote the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, but how do I apply this in practice in my life? Because if you are raising a child, the child is going to model you. They are going to copy you. They are going to become you. Whether you wish it or not, even when the child is saying, Wallahi talahi, I'll never be like my mother, just wait. If you are still around, go and check. They will become just like you. I know in many ways I've become like my mom. And sometimes I'm like, chai, and I used to say, mommy, 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 now see me doing the same thing. So knowing yourself is the beginning of raising a child, just as knowing yourself is the beginning of finding the right kind of spouse. Now, talking about children, there's another very important thing I keep talking about. I call it parental oppression. Parental oppression. When we have children and we are raising them, you have to ask, raise them for what? Raise them to become what? Who designed them? Who crafted them? Not you. No matter what kind of bedroom gymnastics produced them, none of your gymnastics had anything to do with how they turned out. They may have your DNA, but your DNA is like a cocktail of generations and generations of people before you. And you have no say in how that entire cocktail comes out. You have no say in this salad that becomes your child. The mistake many of us make as parents is we want them, our children, to fill the gaps we think we left out. We want them to make up for the mistakes we think we made. We want them to hit those goals we did not hit and we couldn't. So you have a parent declaring something like, I always wanted to be a doctor, but wallahi, they didn't allow me. Guess one of you has to become a doctor. If the parent has to do tinini tanana biko biko, they will do just to find the one. Doctor. I know I'm exaggerating, but that's what it feels like. The fervor with which they say the child must become this. And as an educator, I'm looking at the child and I'm saying, I don't see doctor here. We are looking at the child's track record and we're saying this trajectory isn't saying doctor. And even if the child is first in physics and first in chemistry and first in biology, is the child not first in something else? Where is this child's mind? Where are they pointing? What is the pull? What is their fitra? I feel each human being was designed specifically in certain ways to fulfill certain purposes on earth. That for this world to continue to exist, for this world to be maintained, to be enhanced, every human being has to reach a certain level of excellence. But the excellence comes from that for which they were already divinely crafted. But a parent stands in the way and says, no, this great journalist must go off and become an engineer. Then they make bridges that collapse, and everybody blames the engineer or blames the government or blames God, and God is like, what? I designed the child, I put signals there, but you ignore them all. It comes also in terms of marriage. You must marry this person. We've been family friends for so long. You must marry this person. Okay, if you like that person so much, you marry him. So what happens at the end of the day? They enter the marriage only half invested, and marriage is hard work. Marriage is tough work. Even when you were drunk with love when you got married, after marriage you start to feel the pressure, let alone when you were even pushed into it. All you want to do is find a way to get out. And there's nothing in Islam that says a parent should compel a child to marry someone they do not wish to marry. If you have a sound reason as a parent, like the person's character or habits, then do intervene. But not to actually push in the opposite direction. Wallahi, we've seen cases where a child says, I've seen signs in this person, there's a problem. I can't tell you what it is, but there's a problem. And the parent says, after we finish buying cow, after we finish sending out invitation cards, you will not disgrace me. Wallahi, you will marry him. And these are real life stories. We are not joking about this. Then they get married. The marriage itself is the problem. Then they try to fix the problem by having a child. And I come back to parental oppression. The child becomes the plaster for fixing the hole left by the gap in the marriage. So the child comes into this environment, and the parents are trying to raise the child. How? You cannot raise a plant when the weeds are there. You are not plucking out the weeds. You say the plant should thrive. How will the plant thrive? The weevil in the bean is what destroys the bean first. Those small black things, they will scatter your entire bag of beans if they remain in it. And sometimes we are the ones letting the weevils in. Lastly, think about this simple fact. When Allah was going to create Adam, the first human being, he said he's going to put on earth a Khalifa. If we explore a bit about what Khalifa means, it means someone who is a representative of Allah's way, of his will, of his words. Someone who is a custodian, who is aware that I've been given certain things on this earth and I'm to take care of them. It also means someone who is an inheritor, that everything I have, I inherited. My skills, my looks, my physique, everything material also, I inherited. I came into this world with nothing. I chose nothing. And a successor, I have taken from others, I will give to others. If you operate your marriage with this perspective in mind of who you are, you will find it becomes clearer how to manage conflict, how to manage difficulty, how to manage temptations. If you look at your spouse and you say, I'm also seeing a Khalifa, a representative, a custodian, someone that Allah has honored with this title, there's a way you will treat your spouse. You don't need ustaz, you don't need love doctor, you don't need small little me telling you anything. Your fitra will kick in and you will find your way, inshallah. If you think of your children also in that sense, it also guides you. That will be what stops you from telling your child you are too fat. Because you realize Allah gave us a beautiful title, all human beings. I cannot diss my child this way. So instead you tell your child you need to have healthy body weight. You need to eat better, not you are too fat. In that case, you don't tell your child, Dama, I know nothing good will come out of you. This is how you spoil everything I give you. That is why I will never give you something new, but I'll give your brother. Instead, you talk to your child about how do you learn to be more careful with your things. It brings in respect for yourself, respect for the others you are dealing with. And in marriage, I think push rules to the end. Rules, what is the law, what is haram, what is halal in your interaction. Think first, compassion. Think first, humanity. I'm a human being and this is a human being. The person you've married is a package. You cannot take them apart the way a child will say, I don't like green beans in fried rice. They'll pick out the beans, they'll pick out the carrots, they'll pick out, and leave only what they want. You can't do that with a human being. You can't say, I like his looks. I like this, I like that, but guess what? His mother, I don't like her. How do I cut it off like bread? Slice off the bits you don't want. You can't. You've married a package. Love the package. Love the package. Look for the human being in that person all the time. And yes, even when the person is being cruel to you. It's when you look for the human being and you remember I am Khalifa too, just like this person, that you will know how best do you handle even the one who is being unkind to you. It's a tough road to go, but if your Qibla is pointing to Allah, if a lot of what you do is about what would Allah prefer, then you would know that revenge doesn't always work. We see revenge coming up after divorce. You've divorced, but you've not divorced. You're still married to the quarrel. You're still married to the anger, to the acrimony. But if we have our Qibla in the right direction, then many other things start to make sense. I'm not saying many other things will be easy. I would be lying to you if I did. Sometimes, actually, to stick on the road back to Allah is the hardest thing you can do. It's tough. People may blame you for it. Sometimes your brain blames you for it. Your brain asks you, why didn't you fire him back and give him 10 words when he told you that one painful thing? Your brain tells you, why didn't you just slap that mouth of hers? The next time she tells you that, just slap her mouth. She'll cry, she'll stop insulting you. Your brain will tell you stuff. The road to Allah is the best way to go. It's just not easy, but it's worth it, I believe. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira.